Hey guys, welcome to the second part of our comparison between the Sony XZ2 and Oneplus 6. This time we're focused on daytime performance. Before we start, I want to tell you that me and my husband had an agreement and I get to keep the winning phone. So let's see who has the honor of being my new smartphone. To make sure you will not miss any of our next videos, please subscribe to our channel and check us out on our Facebook and Instagram pages. Links down below.
As usual, we start today's comparison with video footage from both phones. First, 4K video side by side, and we notice a slight difference in stabilization quality. OnePlus 6 surprisingly doing a little better. Colors were good on both, slightly warmer on the Sony, but it was a very sunny day, so it did it justice. I was doing much panning and turning to see if any of the phones exhibit frame tearing in high contrast scenes, but they both perform flawlessly. Where Sony outperforms the OnePlus is in fine detail, especially on the pavement and cars. In 1080p the detail difference is even more obvious, Sony outperforming the OnePlus by quite a margin. Also, in 1080p, Sony's intelligent active steady shot stabilization kicks in, doing a much better job than EIS in the OnePlus, having smoother lateral panning. Selfie videos are kept at 1080p also, and Sony does again a better job with exposure, colors and stabilization. But on the other side, OnePlus strikes back with much better sharpness and detail. For slow motion, each phone has two modes. Sony records in 1080p and 720p in 960 frames per second, the difference between the two being the duration of the video. Also, Sony is able to record sound in slow motion. OnePlus records in 1080p in 240 fps and 720p in 480 fps. But the big advantage here is that the video duration tops at 1 minute of slow motion recording. That is way more useful than any other slow motion implementation on the market where you can only record a second or so. On to the photo comparison, shall we? Starting with the first 5 pictures of the comparison, there is not much to differentiate one phone from the other. Big differences you will see in the last 10 photos. But for now, both phones deliver almost the same picture, with minor differences in color and exposure. Usually Sony delivers marginally better colors, natural with a slightly warm tint, as they were supposed to be, given the fact that it was a very sunny day, with harsh sun lightning. What's worth talking about is that OnePlus continuously uses higher ISO value, but also faster shutter speeds. In theory, that would mean it would have more noise, but also would better be able to freeze motion, but in reality, the scenes being so well lit, noise is not an issue nor motion blur for either phone. So as I've said, for the first 5 shots of the comparison, I would be too nitpicking to find any notable differences, both phones performing very well but also very similar. It's only with the sixth set of photos that we begin to notice some bigger differences between the two phones, each having their respective advantages. At first sight, we see that OnePlus has better dynamic range, not by much, but still noticeable. It manages to retain more color in the sky. On the flip side, Sony has more toned down natural colors, less vibrant than the ones of the OnePlus. Zooming in, detail seems also better on the Sony, OnePlus smudging fine detail on the branches. In this next photo, OnePlus messes up colors even worse. Look at how vibrant and unnatural is the yellow gas pipe. Leaves are also a much more vibrant green than it's supposed to be. On the other side, Sony manages to maintain natural colors throughout the entire scene, and in doing so, it also retains more detail and sharpness, not clipping the yellow color. Same story in this photo, but this time Sony manages to mess things up too, with a very narrow dynamic range clipping the highlight in the bottom right side of the frame. But colors, sharpness and detail are better on the Sony. And from now on, it's only downhill for OnePlus. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very good camera, but Sony this year managed with the XZ2 to have one of, if not the best camera in daylight of 2018, if it would only have better dynamic range in high contrast situations. Anyway, back to OnePlus. Good exposure, good colors, but zooming in there is no contest. It has much worse details, maybe because the noise reduction kicked in as it was using a much higher ISO value, 5 times higher than Sony's. And the same story will be told in the next 3 photos also, with Sony having much better detail retention, better sharpness, but also better exposure and colors. It's not a world of difference, but as close as flagship cameras are these days, it's noticeable enough. I stopped at this photo so I can explain what happened here. As you can see, there is a total lack of clarity on the orange on the OnePlus photo. No, it's not because its camera not picking enough detail or the noise reduction kicked in and washed out the detail. It's much more frustrating than this. For the life of me, I couldn't get to focus lock on the orange. I must have tried about 6 times with no luck. When I finally got it to focus and shot the picture, I noticed that the phone back focused by quite a margin. I reshot the photo 3 times with no luck. This was the best photo of the bunch, and focusing issues plague OnePlus 6 cameras all over the world, it's not just my unit. This is the final picture of the comparison, aside from the selfie one, and things are back to normal. OnePlus has a slightly brighter than usual exposure, but colors and details are similar to the Sony's. In conclusion, my honest opinion is that even if both cameras are very good, Sony has the more consistent and reliable shooter. It constantly delivered more natural colors and better sharpness and details, sometimes by a huge margin. If it wasn't for the weaker dynamic range, I could have safely said that it has the sharpest camera on the market. OnePlus stayed competitive in this camera game, giving the much lower price. As we have seen from the low light comparison, it was neck and neck with Sony, but in daylight it has some catching up to do. Closing the comparison with the usual selfie, first and foremost I want to apologize for my face. It was way too early to the office that day and I haven't had time to put my makeup on. Anyway, this is a win for OnePlus. It has the better selfie camera, better exposure, better colors, much better details. It's a shame Sony wasn't able to keep the awesome front camera from the XZ Premium.
So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. I sure did. In our opinion, I got myself a brand new XZ2, but we would surely like to hear your opinion in the comments down below. Until then, Renu, hand me over the phone.
Must I really?
Renu, people are watching. Bye-bye now.